Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet?
I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole...
My great aspiration, my greatest ambition is to be so good. Now, in that way, I'm tiresome, as I suppose, to live with, because I want to be a fantastic human being.
I am the greatest.
We're not disputing that, Cassius, but how does Sonny Liston feel about it?
He can't feel but one way, and let's take everything I say and like it. Because February the 25th, I'm going to take back my job. I'm the champ. He's no champ. He's a clown.
When you see men fall, don't laugh. Learn. Learn. Because you're on your way up. And the things that tempt people to fall, you and I are not free from that temptation.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close my ancestors speak, they tell me they're tired of them praying on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep, longing to sing until I've surpassed peak, until they think we are equal. Please, all I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their palms would bleed, begging that generations remember our story.
Well, good morning. Peace and blessings to the people. Tuesday is here. We're almost at the mid portion of the week. I hope all is well with everybody. Shout outs to my writers, poets, content creators, producers, singers, painters, dancers. Much love. I got Sydney in the building this morning. You see the title. Of course, most of these discussions are pretty serious. Some are lighthearted, but for the most part, I like to really get down to the psyche of humans, man, because there's folks out here, they ain't got their shit together at all, as you'll see here in a second. Sydney, Adrian, I see you in the building. Appreciate you for tapping in, you dig? Hope you appreciate the bars. What's going on, Sid? Talk to me.
Hello. Doing pretty good. Just hanging out with the kids this morning, trying to clean up their messes faster than they make it. But other than that, doing pretty good. Nice colder morning than it's been. So
send it this way. It's hot. It's hella hot over here. I need the rain. I need the fall to come. I'm over the heat. I am beyond over it. I'm ready to throw on the long sleeves, the turtlenecks, all that. Look, I got a story for y'all. I've been sitting on this one for a few days. This gentleman, he ends up, well, I'm gonna let the guy tell the story, but A 16-year-old lost her life in the process. It's unfortunate. It shouldn't have happened, but we're here, and I wanted to address it. So I'm gonna bring it up on a big screen. I'm gonna let it rock out. This time, this is what I'm gonna bring it up here like that. Let's split that, and it just appeared in the center. And I'm gonna let it play just like a minute, 30 seconds or so, and we'll just go from there.
Edwin Cruz Gomez, age 38 years old, is behind bars, and you're not going to believe what he did. According to the police report, the mother with her husband and her daughter were walking down on Roosevelt. Around 4 in the morning, this individual decided to say some stuff he shouldn't have said to the 16-year-old, which immediately her family reacted to the guy that was trying to pretty much get at the 16-year-old. They state that the individual tried to grab her. The Padrino Carlos stated that, hey, that is not going to fly with me. So an altercation started between the individual and the family, and then the fist started flying. Keep in mind, this was at 4 in the morning outside of a bar. After the altercation finished, the family started walking away from the suspect. And then Edwin saw that he was full of ketchup. He thought it was a good idea to go into his vehicle and find the family. After he located the family that were walking, he ends up with the vehicle pinning the 16-year-old on one of those light poles, where in the now viral video, you can see her sadly pass away. According to the family, they were not aware that the guy was following them with their vehicle. RIP to the 16-year-old. My condolence to their entire family. Let me know what you guys think about all this down below in the comments. And like always, don't forget to follow.
Yeah. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about a guy who is inebriated, operating under his own perverse desires, or are we just talking about a complete adult man preying on a child, didn't like the results that he got from trying to prey on said child, and then he took his anger out on her and the parents?
What disgusting behavior. The entitlement that you must have to feel like a child owes you attention. Like, that really just hints at how messed up our culture is right now. Like, I know there's a movement to make it like a orientation or something, like a type of sexuality, I guess, which I think is disgusting. Like, I cannot believe the society is coming close to even condoning this behavior. My heart goes out to that family and the girl. That's horrific, just not only to experience, but to witness.
How does any adult find attraction in a child? How do you look at someone who barely hit puberty and say, I want that? I gotta have that. Like, what the fuck is going on in your world? Who raised you? I remember a while back you was telling me about in some places they're fighting for the legal limit for kids to be able to get married, or some shit like that.
There's two separate movements. One is to lower the age of consent for relationships. And then there's also a movement to lower the age in which a child can marry without their parents' permission. The ages I've heard is between 12 to 14 is usually the age group they're looking at, which is egregious because some 12-year-olds haven't even hit puberty. They don't even know what that type of stuff is yet. And to think that we could just pass them off to a disgusting adult, and like it's beyond what he, like, it's beyond the fact that he's going to engage with her in that behavior. But also, when you're that young and a person is that much older than you, there's an element of submissiveness in the sense that she or he even, they are going to kind of think that this is an authority figure and that they are obligated to go along with whatever that person wants them to do. And that's extremely dangerous, slippery slope, because that opens the door for all kinds of abuses, where the child might not even recognize that they're being abused because this individual is trying to convince them that whatever is happening to them is normal and is okay. That's one of the biggest components of an abuser, is they try and convince the individual that what they're experiencing is within the normal range of human behavior, and that it's just in their head. They don't know what they're talking about. They are just misinterpreting the situation. I have myself been in that situation before. I have dated somebody whose father, I was 16 at the time, or 17, something like that. Her father would text me things like, "I saw your legs, they're so beautiful." Or he would, I remember one time so his daughter ended up in the hospital. And so I was talking to him to keep track of what was happening, just to get updates on her and how she was doing and stuff like that. And during that time period, he would send me messages like, "Oh, we should go get coffee. Just don't tell Erica." Or, "Hey, we should hang out sometime." Or like one of the times he was like, "Man, I really wish you were in bed with me right now." I was 17 and his daughter was 15 or 16. And I remember at first I would question it. I would be like, is he just like, is this what I think it is? Or is he just like, I don't know, being kind and just doesn't know how to, and he's just like socially awkward or something like that? But once he said the "I wish you were in bed with me" thing, I was like, okay, I see what this is. And when I confronted her about what he'd been saying to me, she completely denied it. She was like, "That's not possible. You're making it up. You're lying. That's not real. He's not doing that. That's not what he means." And it dawned on me that he might be doing the same thing to her, because he was a single father. The mother was not in the picture. And they did have a very close relationship. And this story immediately made me think of that, because people don't understand how vulnerable, especially girls, are to the power of adults. And it's very easy to convince a socially limited or not what is it called? Like people with self-esteem issues, people with parental issues, people who are seeking validation. These people are all at risk of falling prey to people like this. In this case, luckily not luckily, but he was just a stalker. So it wasn't like she was engaged in this relationship with him and he was doing those things to her, but it's still a doorway into that. Like if her parents hadn't been good parents and hadn't stepped in and had allowed her to talk to this person or just like ignored it or whatever, it could have led to other things. Unfortunately, this man had zero emotional control and did irreparable damage to this family. But it's still very symbolic of the type of danger our children are in today, especially with the movements that we're seeing within the government.
The people that you think are friendly and kind and gentle and charismatic, and like I'm starting to really look at folks a little differently, because as much as people say like your words don't really matter, they really do. The power of the tongue is a dangerous thing, and a part of why a lot of these streamers are able to monetize and they're as successful as they are is because of how they word things. Their charisma, their character on screen, it jumps out at an audience that relates. Someone who has a desire for children, I think that's a spiritual sickness. I think like that's a demonic sickness, or like some type of, I don't even know how to word this shit. It's like I can't see a normal person finding anything about that attractive or appealing. The fact that we have a government and a nation that is actually supporting this, or even suggesting that a kid 12 and up is responsible enough to be in a relationship with someone years and years and years ahead of, is crazy to me. How the fuck do you register in? How do you register that in your head? Say, oh, I don't see nothing wrong with it. How do you quantify that? There's no, I don't see no, I can't put, like, I would love to know, how do you sit in a meeting with 10 people on one side, 10 people on the other side, then you have 2 people on the other side, and then you got someone that's doing a presentation at the chalkboard or whatever, and then they're trying to sell you on allowing children to sleep with adults. How does that work? How the hell does that go? How do you even sell that to somebody? Mind you, I know a lot of you have to be parents too. So as parents, you sitting here telling me you're okay with this. As far as this man go, I don't have him surviving very long in prison. Once they find out, it's a wrap. You're going exactly where you need to go. And a lot of these men need to be right along where he is, and women included. Like, the perversion is getting out of hand. It's almost like so we talked about censorship and all that yesterday. So you're telling us that all bets are off. Release the Kraken. You want us to shut up, We can't speak on what we want to speak on. But also, you want us to not only be silent, but you also want to allow all of this sexual immorality to take its course. You want it to be advertised everywhere without judgment. You want to be able to screw us over without judgment. You want to be hypocritical and conscious. You want to do the right thing, but you also want to be a criminal at the same time. But you don't want us to say nothing about it. You don't want us to say, this seems kind of suspicious. So as a grown adult, you, Sydney, you can't look at a grown-ass man walking down the street with his hands on the backside of a 13-year-old and say it. Because if you say something, you're wrong. You're going to get arrested. You're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your finances in your home because you are being judgmental and self-righteous. How dare you? Grown men sleeping with kids, manipulating kids. That's wow. But you know what? That's the world we in. You got something for everybody. Unfortunately, the number of kinks and fetishes that's out here will probably make some people sick. You took this young lady's life from her because she didn't want you, or because you got embarrassed because Pops whooped your ass. Make that make sense. Make any of this shit make sense. Please. I don't remember growing up. Well, let me scratch that because my babysitter. Yeah. She was responsible for a lot of my issues. Yeah, men go through it too. But you're not going to hear about that. Because to society, a man can't be a victim pretty much at all unless it's through violence from other men. But in terms of sexual abuse and all that, there's no way a man goes through that. And I'm only saying this. I don't know what the hell was in him. It had to be something demonic. Or maybe he grew up on that. Maybe he was introduced to it. Maybe it's a combination of all of it. I'm not with it. That shit is terrible. My condolences go out to the family, man, for real.
I looked it up, and thankfully, it's actually misinformation. They haven't actually filed any paperwork to lower the the age of consent or the age of marriage. In fact, they do say that Missouri, New Hampshire, West Virginia, and Wyoming, Missouri, New Hampshire, West Virginia, and Wyoming have recently prohibited or tightened restrictions related to marriage for people under the age of 18. So far, no state in the U.S. does allow 14-year-olds to marry adults. And they have not found paperwork or articles written about it. So at least that's good in a sense. However, I still don't trust them, given their close association with certain individuals that do criminal activity. But at least, thankfully, as of now, they still don't allow 14-year-olds to be predated by men so far.
They might not, but there's people out here that do it, and they do it in the cover of the household. They do it in the cover of daycare. They do it in the cover of ice cream trucks. They do it in the cover of high school. They do it in the cover of healthcare. These establishments are havens for it.
Even parents allowing it to happen to their own children, such as that one 11-year-old girl that was forced to have a baby at home because her parents didn't want to admit that the father was abusing her.
Oh, that was an entirely different type of what the, because I remember there was a celebrity that said, it was Charlie Kirk. It was Charlie Kirk that said, and I quote, she needs to have this kid, regardless if she was, speechless.
I do remember that quote. They basically asked, what about minors that are and end up getting pregnant, and he says they should have the baby.
I don't know how y'all feel about that. I'm gonna leave that one alone for that. I think the whole point here is we are living like this is how bad it is. You can go outside your front door, look to your left and look to your right, and you can damn sure put money on there's a good chance that you're living next to a monster. It didn't used to be like that. I mean, you still had it, but it wasn't this bad. It's to the point to where I look at almost everybody, and I'm like, I wonder, because how is it that these kids are being trafficked so much? How is that possible? I remember at one point here where we were at for like a couple months straight, all they kept on reporting was children coming up missing, children coming up missing. This was for a few months, and then now it's in Virginia. Now they're talking about kids are coming up missing consistently. They're blaming it or connecting it to ice cream trucks. There's a specific ice cream truck that drives around. It's like one or two different ones that drives around. And I could be wrong, but I don't get it. Teachers, gym coaches, cheerleader coaches, swimming coaches, police officers, pediatricians, magicians. Shit. Elmo and fucking Sesame Street is probably behind some shit. Like, you really don't know, man. People out here are weird.
I mean, I've already heard the stories about moms that are putting their children on social media. They were talking about how if you look at the statistics of who are following these profiles, high percentages, like 60 to 70%, are older males that are favoriting and saving the videos of particularly the moms that show off their daughters in more revealing outfits, less childlike outfits, if you will. And so this is a problem, and obviously we all know that there's like deep web type stuff where there's communities like this where people that are interested in this type of behavior share photos and all sorts of disgusting stuff. And so this goes deeper than just societal problems. This is a whole like internet invested type of group of people. And the fact that there's movements to support and promote them is just no words for that.
Social media is a scary place, but it seems so innocent because you have the power to hide behind an avatar. Show of hands of how many people actually have applications on their phone that quantify who is following them, who is behind the profiles, age, name, date of birth, where they're from, is it a man or a woman behind. Ain't nobody really doing that. You just want the numbers and the views and the clicks and likes and the attention. You're not really even considering that some of these folks are probably mass murderers or something. I did a stream a few months ago covering I believe the New Orleans escape prisoners, and one of the dudes that's still out to this day pulled up to the stream, but that could have been somebody that's trolling. But my point is, like, you don't really know who's watching, and y'all be so just lackadaisical with what you share to the general public. What you eat, where you're shopping at, what you're trying on for the day, your receipts, your plans for the entire weekend, and all. Like, y'all be doing way too much. Why are your children being paraded? Do you think there's a group of men and women who are prostituting their children online? I believe I did a story before where a woman was actually, matter of fact, I did. There was a woman who was actually selling her daughter. Her daughter actually died, and she ended up going to jail. She rented out a hotel. She was going from state to state, and she was using her daughter to fund her life. Like, that shit is real. You think I'm exaggerating? If I can remember the name of it or find it, I will repost it. But yeah, that shit is not a joke. I think a lot of parents are really tricking their kids out. This ain't that case though. This is just a grown ass pervert who let his lust and his desires get him put behind bars. He was a danger even before this though, because if he could do this out in the public like that, like he reported, he followed them afterwards. But if he could do that there in public with the parents involved, I know he did some stuff even before this. It's tragic, and I hate that this happened. The only silver lining that I have here is that the person that he really is was exposed, but it was exposed at the cost of somebody losing their life. Because if he never did what he did, we wouldn't know who he was. We wouldn't know he was a pervert or he was a pedophile. I guarantee there's going to be, like, if they really do deep investigating and actually do their job, I'm pretty sure they're going to probably pull up files, PDFs, and all types of shit. I know he got back. This ain't something brand new. Are you the mic?
Yeah. I sometimes wonder how much this will progress because I don't know, it just with the whole movement going on trying to, I don't know if I would call it condone, but it seems like there's been more and more movement towards recognizing the interest in children as a sexuality that's been accepted, which I find absolutely ridiculous. Like, I mean, there's a difference between people that like have those interests and feelings, but they decide to not pursue that, and they decide to do what they can to go against those feelings. But I think it's a slippery slope to accidentally allowing this to be normalized, I guess. I think it's kind of creepy that they're trying to make it more normal for people to be attracted by children. I absolutely cannot believe the direction that this country is going, to be honest. It really, really feels like this country is starting to support criminals more and more. And I think it's disgusting that we're even supporting groups like that. Like, even if they admit that it's true, why would we support them? Like, imagine if we did that to somebody who murdered another person. Like, oh, you murdered someone? Oh, but you don't believe in murder? Oh, it's okay. Like, we understand. Do you want to go to therapy? Do you want to stay at this mental health facility? Like, it's crazy that we're allowing that. Like, especially if they've been targeting young kids. I'm like, that's disgusting. That should not be allowed. That should not be seen as normal. That should not be seen as healthy at all. And I think it's really disturbing that we're starting to move in that direction, where they're starting to come out of the woodwork at, like, there's literal like campsites that are, or like little mini towns that are for these types of people. Like, it's a whole community of just those individuals, and I find that absolutely crazy. Like, the fact that that's even a prideful thing for these people is just like repulsive. It's like celebrating that they murdered somebody or celebrating that they hurt somebody and beat somebody up. I'm like, how can you be so heartless that you celebrate as a group the fact that you're into children? It's just, it definitely signals the type of society that we're stuck in right now.
You're given freedom of speech only when it's convenient. And you're allowed to be reckless as long as you're not telling the truth. You're allowed to be ironic as long as there's no reality based on it. Imagine going into a museum. This is your first time ever going to an art museum in general. You see a wall of paintings. You know how that goes. You don't really know what the hell you're looking at, especially with abstract stuff or anything minimalistic. You have no clue what you're looking at. All you know is that there's a bunch of colors and lines and squares and circles. Maybe you see something that resembles a cloud or something. You don't really know what you're looking at. That's how our country is looking right now. If you don't really know how to interpret what you're keeping your eyes on, you're going to be completely lost. They're blurring everything. I look at the United States of America like the Da Vinci, only in a demonic way, like someone who escaped the insane asylum. The design and the genius behind the insanity is only going to be interpreted by those who understand the deeper meaning behind life and the conscientiousness of individuals who live worldly. As a brand or as an architect of your own destiny, you have to cultivate your walk according to how you decide. If you're walking with God, God is going to give you the most beautiful time that you could ever put together. If you're doing it on your own, you're going outside of the coloring book, outside of the lines. I know it sounds confusing to a lot of people, but that's just how I talk, because I see the world in so many variations. I can look at somebody like Epstein and put myself in his head for a second. This is what demons like. This is what demonic energy feel. This is the type of perversion that only the demonic stuff would be entertained by. That's the only way I can understand and relate to why that man lived the way he did, because he was under influence of something that allowed him to feel okay with doing it, even though he was really being deceived the whole time. Or I could switch it up, and we can go political, and you can look at how, I don't know bylaw 101B/8666666, but I know that you have a group of folks who understand the assignment, and they're all given their own tasks to execute. They're all a part of one body. One does this, the other does this, and then you see it all pan out according to their own plan. Everything's a painting. It really just depends on how you look at it. Beautiful mess. The principalities of this world have taken more control than people would like to acknowledge. And you can see it in the fruits of people's labor, in their actions, how they talk, how we are treating humans in general. That man is spiritually in some type of bondage. I don't know if he knows it or doesn't know it, but he's in some type of spiritual bondage. And for those who say, oh, this is just a human thing, nah, all of this ain't just a human thing. Not all of it. The second that you start trying to eliminate spirituality from life, you have a problem. That's just my personal view. You might think differently than I do. But I truly believe you remove any form of spirituality from your life or from just life in general, you're probably going to be the one who falls for anything. I yield the mic.
That is a really good quote. I always let me find the official wording. Oh my God, just left my mind. But yeah, that's a huge point. Is I don't know. One of the things that I've noticed recently is it seems like a lot of the people that are kind of supporting this behavior still use religion to kind of either mask what they're doing or to justify what they're doing. And I think it's really, really unfortunate that religion and spirituality today is twisted into a more negative kind of manipulation type feel to it, where we're no longer using it to better ourselves, but they're using it to justify themselves and their actions and trying to say like, oh, we're better because we believe in God and this was the right decision and blah, 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 blah. So I think it's unfortunate that people are starting to use this type of thinking to promote that type of behavior. And I've also seen people use like historical context to argue for that behavior. Not famous people, but I have seen arguments via social media where people are trying to say like, oh, well, 15 and 16-year-olds should be able to get into relationships that they want to and marry when they want to. Our president recently declared that after 5 years, people should be considered married, which is a little bit ridiculous because imagine if you had a 12-year-old dating another like 12-year-old or something. By the time they're 17, are they legally married if they stayed together? I think it seems like they're moving towards taking rights from kids and giving adults more power over them. And I think that's a really dangerous transition that is kind of being promoted by a lot of different places. And even though, as I said, they aren't actually changing the age, there, as you said, there's still a lot of people that use their jobs to take advantage of other people. I've heard, I love to watch police like arrest videos and stuff like that. And I could not tell you how many times I have seen videos of children that are like locked in the basement or not allowed to leave the house or are completely not talked about. People don't even know that they exist, all because the parents or even the neighbor or the kidnapper, whatever, doesn't want to show that they exist. And so I think that's another vulnerability, is that now it's easier than ever to hide children from the outside, especially if they're doing something negative to those children. Because in the past, like, we didn't have the internet to be able to just not ever go out and go shopping. We didn't have, I mean, I guess we were more secluded, but it seems like today there's a greater ability to access these children, especially because of social media. I've heard countless stories of children being stalked on social media, being followed to school, being watched, going to their house. Like, this story is not an isolated incident. And I think parents really, really have to be more on top of what their children are doing, especially online. I personally think that children should not be allowed to get profiles. I think there should be an 18-year-old or more limit. I do not think that we should allow children to be on these platforms because, as I said earlier, they don't know how to detect wrong behavior. When I first experienced SA, when I was probably 11 or 12, this was not by the friend's dad, this was a fellow classmate. It took me months to realize what had happened to me. I didn't even understand what I had been feeling. I didn't understand what it meant. And it wasn't until I started doing my own research that I even recognized that what he was doing was wrong and not a normal thing that happens to people. And I I think now with the way, and that was even before really the internet was a big thing. Now, one, children are able to access so much, like, and I imagine a lot of them lie about their age. I know there's like a 14-year-old limit on Facebook and stuff like that, but I already know people lie. They're not telling the truth about how old they are. They're pretending who they are. As you said, very few people actually represent themselves correctly. But it's also the fact that parents are also not paying attention. It's not just the kids online now, it's the parents being online and to some degree or another neglecting their attention on their children. And it's, and then also, not to mention, to no fault of them, their own, but the fact that many parents have to work 2 to 3 jobs. Both parents are working to get by, and they're not able to really be around their kids that often. It allows more of a window for our children to be taken advantage of and encouraged to go out and meet these people who are not safe. I know a lot of parents like allow their kids to walk to school, and I've heard a number of cases where the kid walked to school and vanished. And as you said, like, kids are going missing, the teens are going missing. This is not new, but I've noticed there's been an uptick in the number of children that are disappearing. One case in particular that I will never forget is, it was in the area where my husband's family is from, and the girl had exactly what I said. She'd walked to school, and these 2 men saw her, stalked her, took her down to a what do you call it, like an embankment where they have the water, not a reservoir, but like the canal. And they did horrific things to her and killed her. And these people had basically been watching her walk to school for days to weeks, planning this type of behavior. And this is something that I imagine we'll probably see even an uptick in, especially as things start to fall apart economically and more people are pushed into poverty, more people are pushed to have emotional problems because of everything that's happening. I think it's tragic that we're moving in the wrong direction, especially for our children.
you overly promote the wrong stuff. I think that should be taken into consideration. Twitter, for example, is one space that I know that pretty much still allows porn on the site freely. Elon, you ain't really doing the greatest job. That shouldn't be so readily available. There's like, I don't really support. I honestly think all that shit should be removed from off of the internet, period. But there are places where you can go if you want. That should not be on. All right, put it this way. Question for the public, and I'm probably going to do a poll on this too. Are social media apps adult friendly or kid friendly? Because we need to draw the line. We need some understanding here. Because if these sites are supposed to be a combination of both or one or the other, then there needs to be something set up where it's specifically for this genre. I should not, if Twitter is supposed to be kid friendly, there should not be porn. Now, if you're talking about this as an adult site, then y'all need to figure out better ways to keep children off of it. If this for everybody, you need to figure out a way where there's one side of Twitter that is for them and one side is for. They're not really doing what's necessary to keep these things separated. I almost feel like you want it to all be blended. The adult content on the black web, the dark web, was set up by who? It wasn't a child that created it. It was an adult that did it. Why? Why is there one part of the internet that they call dark versus the rest of it? What's so terrible about that content versus what we see on regular uploads? Who inspired it? And I'm saying all that because at the end of the day, we are the gatekeepers. We pick and choose what is being shown, what gets celebrated. And if everybody is out here showing their body off, you're chipping away at the mind of men and women, man. Like, you throwing sex in our face all day. Eventually, there's going to be people who start to convert and start to change their ideologies and their beliefs. They're going to start giving into their flesh. Everybody is not as strong. Some people are just, I don't know how to explain it. It's like you see it unraveling in front of your eyes. You could, like, I can understand why this is happening. I just don't condone it. I reiterate, 16-year-old girl should not be in the ground right now. From what the report, he split her in two. Yeah. And let's not even forget about David, the singer that we just covered. And he was dealing with a 13-year-old, and they found her in his trunk in one of his vehicles. He was a professional singer. It don't really matter what group you want to tie these people into. Perversion is everywhere. Just because you got a bad, that don't mean that I'm looking at you any different than I'm looking at the person around the corner that's eating off the street. You're probably worse than them. You just got money and a title, and you can keep yourself up. I think y'all the worst. I think they're the worst kind because they're clean cut, which makes it easier for them to get away with doing the stuff that they do. They can go undetected. But I digress.
I was looking at the news just to see, and besides the infamous one that we just mentioned, 20 hours ago, police in England have found the body of a 17-year-old who was murdered by a 55-year-old man. So this is definitely not just an American problem as well. This is happening in many different countries, and we just happen to be very lucky. Ironically, I mean, if you consider it lucky that we have better laws for this, there are countries around the world that do allow children as young as like 10, 11, 12 to be married off to adult men. So we should definitely consider ourselves lucky to live in this country, to have those types of protections. And we should keep that in mind and continue to protect those particular rights of children, rights to safety. They in July they actually had an operation called Operation Gray Skull put on by the FBI, and they eradicated 4 dark web websites dedicated to sharing images and videos showing child essay material. And then they ended up convicting a total of 18 people, all of which were, they don't say specifically, but my guess is they're predominantly men. Let's see. That looks like a man. Yep, they're all men. They collectively ended up getting 300 years in prison total. We have a couple that are 14 years in prison, 12 years in prison, 18 years in prison, 9 years in prison, 5 years in prison, 16, 14, 5, and one of them's pending. They also, through this operation, did arrests in the UK, Netherlands, Italy, Germany, Estonia, Belgium, and South Africa. So as I said, this is a widespread problem. This is not just an American problem. And it's super important for parents specifically to keep this in mind, because we have to be paying attention to what our children are doing on the internet. Because not only could they be exposed to that type of behavior, they also could accidentally reveal information about themselves to make it easier for disgusting people to find them. Like, a lot of kids might accidentally put their address up. They might put what school they're at. They might put other pictures of themselves in certain locations to make it seem like, or to make it apparent where they can be found. And I think it's super, super important that parents realize that, sure, their kids might be innocent and might not be doing that on purpose, but somebody else might be taking advantage of them, might be convincing them to participate in that type of activity, convincing them that it is a good thing and that it's okay, and that they're just being taken care of and loved and blah, 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 blah. So this is really, really important for parents to pay attention to.
My sympathies goes out to all the families across the nations and in other countries that are victimized or have suffered any type of loss due to this. It's not acceptable. It's not right. I don't support it. I don't advocate for it. Everything that we mentioned here is for food for thought, something to consider. This is the world we live in.
Also, just to throw it out there, there's also the idea that, like, oh, teenagers are at the largest risk, which they are technically because they're on social media. But unfortunately, keep in mind that it's not often limited to teenagers. They sometimes do exploit young children as well, daycares, schools, churches. There's been, I've heard numerous reports of like babies, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds also being subjected to the same type of behavior. So your child is not immune depending on what age they are. And the sad thing is too, to keep in mind, is that children who are exposed to SA violence are more likely to get in future relationships that are damaging to their mental and physical health. They're more likely to be exposed to future abuses. They're more likely to have issues with self-harm, with suicidality, with mental illness. And they also have a higher likelihood of not finishing school, not getting into college, not being able to find a home, and ending up on the streets. There's a whole bunch of negative outcomes that are directly linked to an exposure to abuses as a child. And so we aren't just protecting them in the moment, but we're literally protecting their futures. It's incredibly traumatizing even for an adult to be exposed to SA violence. And if you can even fathom what a child would be going through, especially when you are not supposed to even know what that type of stuff is at that age. So that's also really, really important to keep in mind, is if that does happen to you, make sure they get treatment as soon as possible and consistently, because especially young kids, they hide these emotions inside because they don't know how to voice it to other people. And they also don't really understand what they're feeling and how to express it and what it means, and how to manage their difficult emotions. So yeah, we really, really have to make sure that we're watching out for our children, that we're protecting our children, because this type of stuff can affect them for the rest of their life. So yeah.
You really care about your family and your loved ones. Pay more attention to them. Hell, pay more attention to yourself.
They might see it as an invasion of privacy, but truthfully, if they do have access to technology, you should have the passwords to their social media accounts. You should have the passwords to their email. You should be able to read their text and see who they're calling and know who their contacts are, because it's very easy for a teen to hide behind accounts, and it's up to the parents to make sure that what their child is putting on social media is not going to harm them. And this could also apply to other areas too, of catching when kids have mental illnesses, catching when kids are promoting, oh my goodness, 1 second. Talking about like catching students that are condoning violence as well. A lot of times parents are blindsided when their child goes and shoots up a school. But then when you go through their social media account, they're posing with guns. They're talking about how much they want to do that. They're expressing all sorts of really dark opinions. And so in general, it's really, really important for parents to know that the internet can be a very dangerous place for their kids, and that they really need to stay on top of the mentality, the mental health, and the thought processes that kids have. And as I said, because of the exposure to the internet, kids can be very easily swayed by their friends, by other authority figures, by the internet itself, watching a video, post. And because they have less life experience, they also don't really know how to interpret false information from real information. So we have to be on top of our kids and help them understand that not everything you see on the internet is true. Not everyone you meet on the internet is someone you can trust. And if you run into any issues, tell somebody you trust. Tell an adult. Make sure that they know that the people that they can trust or should be able to trust the most are their parents, and that they should feel comfortable sharing things that make them uncomfortable. I think that's something that a lot of kids struggle with. I myself struggled with that. I didn't tell my mom about anything relating to what I experienced until I was in college even. And I think actually she might have found out because she read my notebook, but I still didn't tell her. And I still really haven't told her the whole story either. And so it's important to keep that in mind, that a lot of kids will feel shame. A lot of kids will feel scared to share because they think that they're going to be judged for it. And we, again, as parents, as teachers, as like anybody who really works with kids, pay attention to those things. They often will give off signs, and as I said, like the internet is a gateway to all sorts of poor behavior, dangerous people. And so we need to make sure that it's ingrained into our kids' heads. Be aware, stay alert, and don't just give yourself away to anybody or anything that you see on the internet.
Everything she said. God bless y'all, man. I hope this helps somebody. Spread the word, spread the message, spread the conversation. Let's continue to expand on these discussions. Let's get more people involved. No more silence on it. I think we've already seen what silence does. Shout outs to Sydney. Shout outs to everybody in the building. Adrian, I appreciate you for pulling up. Looks like we might get some rain here. Fingers crossed. Thursday is around the corner, folks. Thursday around the corner. That's all I'm saying. Look, man, we'll be back later on. Same time, same place, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you tap in. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Can I make an announcement?
Go ahead.
On Thursday, for anybody that, or I think it's Thursday, let me double check. I am in I work for an art museum or art gallery, and they're going to have an event coming up. Just let me make sure I get the right information. Where did it go? Here it is. So on, oh my God, please. Stop it. Oh my God. Sorry. It like logged me out right at the moment that I opened it. Here you go. Okay. So I'm part of I'm in an art gallery in San Diego. So for anybody that's in San Diego or nearby to San Diego and you love art, we are having an art gallery viewing on September 27th from 6 to 8 o'clock. And we also have refreshments available. Not only do we have the photo gallery there, but we also have other sculpture exhibits. But if you're interested in joining us, we will be at the Kokoro Art Gallery and Creative Lounge for the Stills by Hills exhibit. We have that posted on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. So if you are interested, feel free to follow me, Squid Science Poetry, or you can also follow. I'll put it in the chat. You can go ahead and follow them as well to find out more about that show. So I hope to see you there.
Yeah, here to hear first, folks. Make sure y'all pull up, show some love if you in the area. Thank you for pulling up this morning. Great discussion as always. I will see you later. And to the rest of the people in the building. If I don't see you later, have a blessed day. Do me a solid before you go.
What's the goddamn button?
Have a good day, guys.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close my ancestors speak, they tell me they're tired of them praying on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep, longing to sing until I've surpassed peak, until they think we are equal. Please, all I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until